Hey guys, this is Eliza from Dusk and Reads and welcome back to my channel. Today I am back for another recent reads. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely. So today I have 6 books to talk about that I have read recently, and I'll also talk about the 3 books that I am currently reading. So I'll just mention what I am currently reading first, and the first book is Unearthed by Megan Spooner and Amie Kaufman. I'm nearly finished this one. I've only got like that much to go. There's only 4 chapters left, so I'm going to be finishing this one today. But yes, I am currently reading it as of filming this video. I'm not loving it. It's pretty mediocre. Yeah, I don't know. There's just nothing that's like overly exciting about it. There's nothing that's shocking. There's nothing that's like wowing me. It's just like, okay, righto. And a lot of it is very predictable, or like I vaguely guess what's going to happen and I'm like, yep, okay, righto. So yeah, not overly impressing me, and I really don't like Jules, who is the male main character. He is kind of annoying and I don't like reading from his point of view. It's not too bad now, but at the beginning his point of views were very info dumpy on like the background of this world, and it was just getting really annoying. Like there was one point where I'm pretty sure I read 3.5 pages of just information about the world. There was no dialogue, there was nothing, it was just 3.5 pages of information. And that's a little bit beyond my limit of info, okay? So, overall, not enjoying this one as much as I hope. The next book I'm currently reading is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This is a reread for me, and I am just over halfway, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm just over halfway. I have this much left, and I'm really enjoying this, obviously. It's a reread. I already know I love this book, but I'm loving rereading it, and I really like rereading the physical edition because I can hear like the narrator that narrates these books. I can hear her voice in my head when Audrey Rose says certain things, and I love it. It's really cool. But yeah, really enjoying it. We're starting to get into like the interesting nitty-gritty stuff, and I'm just like, yes, let's get in there. So loving this one. So the last book I am currently reading is Only Human by Sylvain Neuvel. I'm not exactly 100% sure that's how to pronounce the name, but I think it is. But yeah, this is the last book in the, having a mind blank, the Themis Files. It's the last book in the Themis Files, and I'm listening to this one on audiobook. I'm really enjoying them. The audiobooks are great. They are very well done, and they've got a cast narration, and I'm pretty sure this one has the author as one of the narrators. I'm pretty sure at the start when it like lists all the narrators, it says Sylvain Neuvel. So that's pretty cool if they're narrating something in their own book, like one of the characters in their own book. But this one's actually following different characters so far compared to the last 2. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm not too far into that one as I've been mostly concentrating on physical reading. So yeah, but I'm slowly getting through Only Human and I'm loving it. Now onto the books that I've recently read. First I want to talk about The Queen of Attolia and The King of Attolia by Megan Wallen-Turner. So I read The Thief a while back now and I enjoyed it. I don't, like, it's not a 5 stars, but I enjoyed it, and I think I'm enjoying the series less and less as the books go. I did rate both The Queen of Attolia and The King of Attolia as 4 stars, but it's probably like a 3.5, 4-ish stars. I'm not like 100% sure. So this is like a high fantasy world, and the world building I do really enjoy. It's really well done, very vivid. There's a lot of politics in these books, which is what like the main part of these books is about. There's not necessarily like a action-packed plot going on. It's just like the politics of things, the characters, and like different things like that. So I'm not loving it. Like I'm not 100% keen on politics driven type books. I'm more like action packed books. So I'm not 100% loving it. And I honestly think that if I was reading this via the physical book, I probably would have DNF'd them because it is slow at times, but because I'm listening to it on audiobook, I can just like, you know, just keep pushing through. Whereas reading physically, I'm more likely to DNF because like things are slow and not like really interesting me that much. But yeah, this is definitely a more slow paced book for the most part and not a ton of action. But if you are interested in a book that's like high fantasy, lots of political intrigue, then this is probably the one for you, but that's just not my personal preference. So next book I've also recently read is another audiobook, and that is Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, which is the 2nd book in the Themis Files. This one, I really enjoy the series. I love this series. It is so good. Seriously, this series is just like one insane fucked up thing after another. There is never a dull moment. There is always something going on. I don't know how, but like the writing is amazing. Like I instantly connected with the characters from like the start of book 1, and I still care about them. And then when things happen and people die, it's just, I can't help being emotional because I give a crap about these characters and I don't know why. But it's just, it's an intense book, and a lot of things happen. A lot of like very bad things happen, and it's just, yeah. And there's a few times where things get like a little bit fucked up. If you read the series, you'll understand. Like, it's not like they're promoting this fucked up shit. It's just like people do fucked up things and then you're like, oh, what? Wait, what? The fuck did I just read? And yeah, like I said, the audiobooks are really good. Full cast narration, absolutely love them. I'm interested to see what this third one brings because it's not following the main characters that we've been following for, well, so far it's not following the main characters we've been following for the last 2 books. So I'm interested. So the next book I read was Scythe by Neal Shusterman. This one, I loved it. I don't know if you can see all the tabs here. There's a lot of tabs in this book. This one, I'm not 100% sure if I'd rate it 4.5 or 5 stars. I'm not like 100% sure, but I did really, really love it. This world is just so thought out and so well done and so interesting. Like everything like seems to have like a reason. Like everything, yeah, everything just adds up in the end, and the world is just like so unique. And I love how it's classified as a utopia, but you kind of like question about whether this is actually like a utopian world, like whether this is a good world or whether you're probably on the verge of a dystopia. It's like there's a lot of questioning going on in this book, like when you're reading it even, and just like in the book, about what's humane and what is just people that don't want to die. Like, should we really be doing this, or is it you're just fucking terrified of dying? That's a lot of this book. I also really enjoyed most of the characters. Like obviously there's the bad guys, but even the bad guys like I enjoyed as a character. Don't like them as a person, but as a character they were very well done, and you honestly felt like you hated them. You couldn't help but hate these people. But then there's also like our main bad guy. Some of the times like you do get journal entries from him throughout the book. If you haven't read it, there's journal entries from the Scythes throughout the books, and sometimes you get them from him, and sometimes I find myself agreeing with him, honestly. I don't agree with his methods, but I do sometimes agree with his reasoning. Does that make sense? I don't know. But yeah, I don't agree with how he goes about doing things, but I do agree with some of the things he says. It makes sense. A little bit, so there's that. And also with the Scythe journals, I really liked reading them. It gives you just that little bit more insight into the world and into the characters, and especially when we get into like further in and we see some of Rowan's. I can't really explain anything because of spoilers, but yeah, we get to see some of Rowan's, and that was really interesting seeing his actual thoughts compared to what he's acting like. Yeah, there's not really any way I can explain this. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. Really loved it. So the next audiobook I read was Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wein. I've always thought it was Wein, and I've heard a lot of people pronounce it as Wein. But during the audiobook, the narrator pronounced it as Wine. So I'm not 100% sure what is right anymore. But anyways, moving on. So this one, I can't say I loved it. Usually World War II historical fiction, I instantly love them. Like, I don't think I've got a single, I'm just looking at my shelf, I don't think I've got a single World War II historical fiction that I don't like over there. Nope, I like all of them. But this one didn't overly impress me, honestly, and considering this is one of the ones that people always recommend, I wasn't really impressed. So, and I think a lot of that is got to do with like 2 things. One, the book itself was really hard to get into. Like, I did listen to it on an audiobook, but it was really hard to get into at the start because you're trying to figure out what is going on, who we're talking about. It was just like a bit confusing because it's kind of written, it's basically this chick is locked up by the Nazis, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, by the Nazis, and she's being forced to recount information from previously. So we get her story like right now, and then we also get her story back, like the part that she's recounting. And at first that was so confusing. I didn't know what the heck was going on. So it took a little while to actually get into the book. And then also I didn't really connect with the characters. Like, I can't even remember their names. That's how bad it is. But yeah, I just didn't really care for the characters. I didn't care about them. And because like I didn't care about them, I didn't really care what happened to them. Like there was a couple times where I was like, holy fuck. But it was just like things that affected everyone more than the things that just directly affected that person. And it was more things that affected other people, not the main character. So yeah, I don't know. I just didn't connect with this book as much as I have other World War II historical fictions. And I wasn't overly impressed by it. I rated it, what did I rate it? I put 3.5 to 4 stars. I'm not 100% sure what the rating is exactly. Yeah, didn't love it. So I don't know if I'm going to continue on to the second book. I really don't. And I don't know if I would have liked it more if I read it physically. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think the audiobook was what affected me, because I did actually enjoy the audiobook. I love that they actually got someone of that nationality. So you had the accent and stuff, and then there was times where like the accent kind of come out a bit more, because I'm pretty sure she's Scottish, because she keeps getting called English and she keeps getting up them because she's not English. But I'm pretty sure she's Scottish. But yeah, I did enjoy the narrator, but it's just I couldn't connect with the characters, so I didn't really care. So there's that. Okay, so the last book was another physical book, and that was the Queens of Fennbirn. I keep saying the Queens. There's no the there. There's nothing there. It's just Queens. So yeah, Queens of Fennbirn, Kendare Blake. This is, I'm not sure if this is meant to, yeah, it's meant to come before 3 Dark Crowns and 1 Dark Throne. But this one has 2 stories in it. One I liked, one I just was okay about. The first story is 3 Dark Sisters, and that is the one that follows the 3 queens before the events of 3 Dark Crowns. So you see them, well, you see their mother when they're born, you see when they're growing up in the Black Cottage, and then when they go into each of their families, like the adopted family things who raise them for after that time. It's hard to explain. But yeah, so we follow them there, and I wasn't overly impressed with that part of the story. It was kind of okay. Like, I wasn't overly excited about it. There was nothing that I was like, oh my god, I needed to know that. I think the bit I liked the most was the very first bit where you've got the queen and she's having the kids, the 3 girls. So that bit was interesting. But besides that, yeah, the other bits just weren't overly impressive. And then we read One Cursed Oracle, which is the second story. That one is interesting. So this one follows the Oracle Queen, who is mentioned throughout the 3 Dark Crowns and 1 Dark Throne books. Basically, she was this queen that everyone thought went insane and ordered these people to be killed. Like 3 families, 3 full families of people to be killed. But in this one, we discover what actually happens. And I loved that story. It was so interesting. There was so much going on. And even though it's only like, where's the start of it? It's only that many pages, like this side. I was so interested. I cared about the characters. I was emotional. It was just like, it just dives straight into everything fucked up that goes on in this book. And it was intense. And literally when I was writing, like I write out notes, you probably can't see them because it's in lead pencil. I write out notes whenever I'm doing a recent reads. And the last dot point I have for this book is wanted to slam someone with a brick. That is 100% accurate. I don't know how many times I'm like, I want to slap a bitch with a brick. It's just the characters in this book. Like I loved like the people on her side. I loved most of those characters, but then the people that went against her wanted to stab a bitch in the throat. Anyways, so yeah, I really enjoyed the second story. The first story, I don't think we necessarily needed, like, it was interesting, but I wasn't like overly impressed. I wasn't like, oh my god, I needed to know this. Whereas the second story, I was like, thank you, I need to know this, and I now understand the references. So yeah, really enjoyed this one for the second part of the book. And because of that, I did give it 4 stars. So yeah, there's that. I did enjoy the last one. The first one, it was okay. So yeah, I think that's all for this video. If you've read any of these books, make sure you let me know in the comments what you would liked about them, or whether you didn't like them, or your thoughts, you know, all that information. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. We'll go.